we're going to be talking about grimoires and BSOs, Book of Shadows, or Book of Spells. So there's multiple ways of having a grimoire and a BSO. And what I'm explaining here is a couple of ways that I use it. Starting your craft is really hard, and I know it's a bit daunting, so let's go over just the basics. Okay, so right now I have my BSO and my travel grimoire. So I have at least 3, technically 4 different types of ways of documenting and studying for myself on my craft. And one of the ways is having an actual physical copy of your Book of Shadows. So this one's mine. It's a normal standard one, and I'll go through that in this video of what can help you start on your own BSO. Another way is having a travel one or grimoire. This is a miniature binder, and this is one that I use very frequently. I have lots of pages in it, everything I do. This is easy for me to take on the go and go where I need to go, such as if I'm going to a friend's house and they need me to do a reading, or if we're making a recipe for tea, or even if there's just a celebration going on. I bring this with me so that I'm able to quickly reference. Now, the third method is an electronic one. An electronic one is very easy to do. You can go on Google Docs and start your own on there and type it all out. The good thing about having it on Google Docs is that you can access it anywhere where you are. The fourth method, which I believe from when I've talked to other people in my community who do this craft, they always started with Pinterest. They make a board, they private it just for themselves, and things that they find in that deals with their craft, they pin it to that board so then later on they can reference it. So how I started is I started with a Pinterest board, and Pinterest obviously has a lot of things that you can put on, and I started getting the stuff that dealt with what I wanted, and then I slowly started printing them out to put in my big one. And I was lucky enough, there's a couple shops in my location that does have pamphlets, that does have papers that I can easily get and add in, just a lot, which is nice for me. So that helps. Another thing is when I'm printing it off on my BSO, on my physical copy, I make sure to copy it to my online on my Google Docs. And that's easy for me because then if I for some reason can't take this with me and can't take my miniature with me, I at least have it somewhere on my phone, and that's a good thing to do. Now, the biggest question that I've asked, and I know a lot of my friends have asked when they were telling me how they started, and I have a few friends who are still starting and have been in it longer but do not have a physical BSO or a grimoire. And so here is what I have learned. Start with something that you are interested in, whether it be crystals and you're just documenting crystals, whether it be plants and you're documenting the plants, whether it be teas, which is what I started with, was teas and tinctures and bitters. I started with that, and recipes, and started adding that in and looking up the properties for it. And then I started writing and documenting. Now there's a lot of ways you can document, and one of the ways is people like to do handwriting and color coordinating. Some people like to do with pictures. Some people like to do highlighting methods. There's multiple ways you can do it and have it done. Some people feel like they need to have very specific things in their BSOs or their grimoires, and that is what you feel is correct. Everyone gets under the impression, oh, I have to have a Wicca read. I have to have this and that. I have to have the principles of Wicca and being a witch. That's not what you need. It's a long way for you. It's a journey. I started with the Wheel of the Year because what introduced me to it was the herbs. And then what introduced me into this more is learning about the holidays because of my heritage. I needed to learn more of it because I felt more in tune with it. You can start wherever you feel you want to start. And some people like to have colored tabs. Yes, mine is very, very small compared to my travel because I use my travel a lot. But if you are going to start on your Grimoire or your BSO, and if you want a physical copy, there's many methods you can do it. My method is an easy method, is having a binder, because I have friends and people who don't know about my craft, so it's easy to hide it this way. You can have dividers to divide everything, which is what I've done, and then I like to print everything out, unless I really feel like I need to handwrite it and stick it in here, but I'll print everything out, or I'll pick up pamphlets at my local place that sells them, and I put them in sheet protectors, and you can just slowly do it and fill it all up. Like, I've got one for each of the elements, for calling the elements. I got one for runes. I've got ones for magical trees and Celtic lore. There's a lot of things you can add. Now, another method you could do is you can do the journal method, whereas you have a specific journal that you write everything. And yes, BSO is a book of shadows, but it's also your book of spells. That's how I was told, and that's how I understand it. A lot of my spells that I write down, I have them on index cards, and I have it in an index card spiral, which I will transfer to my big one, so I have it for the future. And I do have a couple of them in my miniature when I did a house cleansing, and that's just how it is. It was on the hand and I just wrote it. You can also find some on Pinterest to add into your BSO. Just make sure you do the research on it. If anything, research what you love and what inspires you and what sparks you in your craft. And when you do that, filling these out will be so much easier for you. Now, some questions that I had when I was doing is there a right way or a wrong way? There's no right way or wrong way. It's whatever you feel is correct. Whether it be starting because you want to start at the beginning and do the stereotypical way of writing a blessing, doing the Wicca read and everything, that is up to you. Or if you want to do it like I've done it, where you do with what you feel strongly pulled towards, such as teas and tinctures, or is it crystals, or is it plants, or astrology, or tarot reading. You can do whatever you want. Now, there are some things that you are probably wondering, well, okay, I start with what I want to start with. Where do I go from there? That's when you slowly start adding more things, meaning if you start with crystals, you can go on then to looking up plants. Or if you are starting from the very beginning and you don't know what to do, start with looking up the history of what you are studying in your craft, such as different types of witches, different types of lore. Now you're thinking, okay, I started on that. What do I do next? What is needed next? It's up to you. You are the one who needs to. There are some things that you can start with, such as you can have a dedication page of what this is for. Mine will be, this is for my main studies, and this one's just going to be my travel one. You can have a protection spell put on them, meaning you write it out and then you put a blessing on it to protect your Grimoire or your BSO. If you are Wicca or Druid, you might want to look up the read and add the Wiccan read or the Druid blessing in your books to make it more. You might want to look up the history of Wicca, of Druids, of witches, just to add in here so you have a history, so you understand what's going on. Also different types of witches that you can put in here. You can do different types of magics in here. You can also put the symbols, signs, and sigils that you've come across and you've learned about. You can do the holidays and the days of the week and the times and the wheel of the year. You can do the elements. And you can also go astrology with it, meaning the moon, the stars, the planets. You can go with the zodiac and the animals, such as spirit animals, or, for instance, Celtic animals and Celtic trees. You can go with creatures that are dubbed magical. You can also go with candle colors and how they affect everything. You can also write up how your altar's set up and what you like to put on during the seasons of how you want it set up and what feels right. You can also do herbs and plants so you understand how they work, such as which ones to avoid. One thing that I like doing is getting a Polaroid camera and getting a picture of the plant, so, or the crystal, whichever one, and add it into my grimoire. So I have a quick reference of, oh, this is what it looks like. You can also put crystals in here. You can write about essential oils and how they are different from actual herbs. You can write recipes for teas and ritual oils and spells and blessings. You can do your tarot readings, you can do pendulum readings, you can do runes, and you can do charms and amulets, talismans, and you can even put deities that you're researching in. Those are only some, seems like a lot, but there is things you can do. You don't have to just do all of it at once. You can pick ones that you feel more comfortable with and go with at a time. I hope this video was information for you to help you get started. It is a big daunting task, but if you start with what you practice with and what you love and the knowledge you know and start filling it out, you'll be able to open it up and have it filled so much more. Until next time, see you all later. Bye.